we've got Defensive Coordinator PJ Volker with us. Let's go to Joe Miller.
Hey, Coach. How's it going?
Yo, great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Coach talked about it a little bit on Saturday, but the continuity and from your perspective as a defensive coordinator, having all your assistants back, how much does that help you kind of going into not only just the fall camp, but through spring and to have that continuity for you guys and from the coaching perspective?
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing to be honest with you. I mean, we've spent a lot of hours together in that room, putting together game plans, recruiting players, talking about things that we like, dislike, um, shoot our kids' sports, our wives, everything. I mean, we spent a lot of time together doing all those things. I think it's been phenomenal for us, and um, we understand, just simple things like as setting up drills and how we want to coach drills and speaking our language and making sure everybody's doing those things. It helps, and especially when you're getting ready for traditional offense, and then you're playing our offense, and they're drastically different. The challenges with those things and trying to uh, teach it the best way so it makes sense to the guys
Yeah.
in both realms. Um, I think if there's a new guy here, we would take a few steps back and have to get them caught up, and it's just really beneficial for us. It's wonderful.
When you're trying to, Colin and Kyle played so many snaps for you last season, and you're trying to replace those players. And I know some guys haven't experience in those spots, but what are the? I guess I know you don't want to compare what Kyle and Colin because every player is different, but what are the aspects that you're honed in on for those inside linebacker positions? What are the things that you're tuned into that you're trying to look at for those guys battling for that position?
Yeah, Colin and KJ were great players for us, and before them was Will Harbor and Diego Fago, great players for us. And to play Mike, to play Will here, they got to be great leaders. They got to be smart. They got to be tough, and they have to be guys that their teammates have a ton of confidence and trust in. And to gain the confidence and trust of your teammates and your coaching staff, you got to be consistent. And I think that was um, the thing. Like Colin and KJ were wonderful players for us because they consistently worked their tail off. They consistently brought a physical nature to the game. They knew what they were doing. Um, and, Diego the same way before that, Will Harbor the same way before that, and several others as well. And that's ultimately what we're looking for the guys that assume that role moving forward is we want guys that are smart, they play fast, they play violent, and they're consistent with what they do to build confidence and trust in the coaching staff and the teammates.
And from that, as far as I'll go to the defensive end spot where obviously, again, some guys that have played a little bit. Do you imagine? I know you kind of moved around Griffin and Kendall and Matt last year, and but do you feel like this is our DNs, this is our defensive tackle and nose tackle going into fall camp, or is there still some rotation going on there?
Yeah, I think that's happening to a certain extent. I
Yeah.
think we've got a lot of really good players up front. I think we've recruited well in that room, and um, it's on us to make sure we get guys in the right position that they can be successful and have success um, playing whatever position that we need to put them in, and put guys in position to be successful, that ask them to do jobs that fits their skill set. So yeah, we're going to have a personnel meeting here shortly and talk about potential position changes and things like that. You're through 5 days of camp, 5 practices that is, and it's about that time to say, hey, we may need to move this guy over here or that guy over here. Does he fit for you? Does he fit more for me? And we just started talking about that a little bit as a defensive staff, and we're going to have a meeting about that as a staff as well. But that's that's part of it. That's part of college football, and that's why, like, you don't get to go to the free agent wire and grab, the best available free agent at that position. That's why you recruit guys that are, we'd say it all the time. You want backyard football, first round draft picks. So those guys that can do a bunch, that enables us to be able to move guys around and get our best players on the field.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Joe.
Is it nice to be at a school to be able to have those conversations and not worry about if you move someone, they're going to transfer?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and most guys on the roster want to play. You know what I mean? And if you're moving a guy, it's generally for a better opportunity for him to get out on the field, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
Sometimes guys don't always see it that way. They think, we ask you to move from corner to safety. No, I'm a corner. We ask you to move from DN to D tackle. No, I'm a DN. I don't get a lot of those conversations around here. I mean, to a man, we've moved a lot of guys over the years. Coach whatever's best for the team, and it is refreshing among a lot of other things around here.
I mean, ironically enough, at 1:30 we talked to Jackson Campbell, who was a quarterback, was a safety, and now has found a home at outside linebacker and is flourishing.
Yep.
Tim Nolan.
Hey, Coach. Good to meet you virtually. You were talking about some of the guys you have up front today. Obviously, Landon making the freaks list for a third time. So you got some people around the country who are just learning about Landon Robinson. You know what he's capable of, but do you mind just speaking to Landon Robinson, the person, and what a pleasure it's been to coach him these past couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, Tim, nice to meet you as well virtually. Landon is I mean, he's a dream in every aspect of the word, everything that we ask him to do on or off the field, his leadership. Like, I knew he was going to be a great captain. I knew he was going to be a great captain. He's even surpassed that. His work ethic, he watches more film than anybody on the defense. And the whole football team knows it. Like, he puts in the work, and his work matches what his goals are and what our goals are. And that's some of the things. Sometimes it's easy for guys to talk about it, but his work matches those things. In terms of him just as a person, he's an absolute joy to be around. He's bright. He's energetic. We talk about guys like, we don't just talk. We don't want guys with just energy, because energy goes one way. Like, you can be positive energy, you can be negative energy. We say we want guys that are enthusiastic. Like, he is the epitome of enthusiasm at all times. Like, there's never a bad moment for him, let alone a bad day. Like, he comes into the room, he commands the room, but he commands it in a way where the guys feel connected to him. And he is so committed to Navy football, the Naval Academy, what the goals are here, everything in the brigade, everything academically. And, to be honest with you, I think it comes from, he's got a wonderful mother back in Ohio that's done an amazing job with him. And she's the exact same way. So, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree.
Last week, you got to see your guys practice, especially early on, in some pretty brutal conditions. I know that it's football and you try and get used to it as much as possible. But when you see guys battling every single day for a spot in record temperatures, what does that teach you about what you have in the locker room?
It just continues to reaffirm that we have the toughest dudes in the country. Like, that not one guy complained, whined, anything about any of that stuff. They went out there and got after it, and we did some challenging things, and we pushed them really hard, and I was impressed with them. But it just continues to reaffirm we got the toughest guys in the country.
And then Scott brought it up with a guy like Jackson, but how rewarding is it for you as a coach when you see somebody like him who paid his dues, he found a spot, and he just continued to trust the process, trust in you, and ultimately he's now getting to enjoy the fruits of that labor?
Yeah, I mean, and he's another guy that is just extremely enthusiastic about his work. I mean, he like, you go out there, you can see him bouncing around all day, every rep. He's gotten a heck of a lot, he got a ton of votes for captain too. He's a guy that the guys gravitate towards. And he's been through, a lot. Comes in as a quarterback, moves to a safety, and ends up starting split time, towards the end of the year last year with Kenny. And you'd see some guys would go on the tank right there. He never ever even thought about going in the tank. He still brought it every day to practice. He's enthusiastic. Had a wonderful off season. I mean, he's just an absolute joy to be around. We got a lot of them. It's funny. Like sometimes I feel like I can say the same thing about a lot of guys, but Jackson and Landon are two of the most enthusiastic guys I've ever coached.
Thank you.
Let's go to Maryland Sports Writer of the Year, Bill Wagner, with his nice background picture.
What's up, PJ? Good to see you.
Nice. I like Wags. Good to see you too.
So ever since Coach Newberry arrived in 2019, Navy has played very above average, very solid defense. Can you talk about, I don't know, not maybe the pressure, responsibility of maintaining that, not letting the standard drop?
Yeah, I mean, Coach Newberry set the tone, when we came here in 19, and that's been our way of life ever since. We don't know anything else other than that, and these guys don't here. And as coaches, we're not resting on anything we've done in 19, 20, 21, 22, or anything like that, 23, 24. Like, it's all about how can we improve? How can we get better? And that's always been Coach Newberry. That's always been the main thing with him. How can we do better? What can we do to improve? He's been the best I've ever coached with to do that. He continues to do that as the head football coach, and as a staff, we're committed to doing that to make sure that the product that we put out there is the best that we possibly can, and that we're continuing to improve and get better.
This is your third year as defensive coordinator. How do you feel you've put your fingerprints on this defense? What do you feel is, maybe changed schematically or different things that Navy's doing since you've taken over? Because I know that Coach Newberry's given you the latitude to put your own stamp on this.
He does, but nothing we do doesn't go through him. Like, I mean, we talk all the time about any type of potential scheme changes, personnel changes, any of those things. I mean, he's a mastermind. He's a wizard. We go in the lab as coaches. We spend a lot of time in the off season trying to find the places we had holes at, whether it's personnel or scheme, or maybe how we're teaching something, and we try to improve it and get better. And we come up with some things in the defensive staff room. I bring them to coach. He looks at it. We talk about it, and then he ultimately rubber stamps it or not.
In terms of you've got some holes to fill, particularly at inside linebacker and in the secondary. Do you feel you answered those questions in the spring, or do you feel that you're still having to figure out who's going to start at certain spots where you graduated a starter?
Yeah, I think we've got multiple guys that can play several of those positions, and we just told them today after practice, every day is an interview. Like, that is what we're about. That's how we're going about our work ethic. And from the moment we talked to this team, this 2025 team, all these returners, it's been replace dogs with dogs. Like that, there's no doubt about it that we had some good players last year, but I think we've got some good players this year too. And we have to have that dog mentality when we go out there, that we're able to get the job done 1-0, continue to improve and get better. Secondary, defensive line, linebackers. I mean, we've got positions that are open at every deal, and every day's an interview, and we got a lot of guys competing for them, and I think we got a lot of really good players competing for them that, as a coaching staff, we trust.
When you look at the stats last year, you had a very solid third and fourth down conversion defense, excellent red zone defense. I think you ranked 65th nationally in total defense, so that's kind of middle of the pack. 34th in scoring defense. Any metrics, goals when you go into a season that you'd like Are any of those areas I just mentioned you need to improve? And are there any goals metrics that you try to hit as you kind of set your goals?
Listen, our goals are to be number one. Like that has not changed anything. Like our goals are to be the best in every metric that there possibly could be out there. Total defense, scoring defense, rushing defense, passing defense, takeaways, third down defense, red zone defense. Like that's ultimately what we're trying to do. Is we're going to chase perfection and hopefully catch excellence along the way. And that's ultimately what we do. So we're going to look at all that stuff and say, hey, how can we get better? How can we get improved in that area? And maybe it's sounds crazy to say, hey, we're trying to be the best that in the country at all that stuff, but that's how we're wired. That's how we work. And that's ultimately what our goals are in those things. And the number one goal is to win games on Saturday and do whatever we need to do to make sure that we can win those games on Saturday.
It's interesting. The rushing defense is you ranked 78th in the country, but you only allowed 156 yards a game on the ground doesn't seem like a whole lot, but is that an area that is a particular emphasis perhaps?
It all starts with stopping the run. If you can run the ball, you control the football game, in my opinion, and I know everybody's opinion around here. So, it all starts with us being able to stop the run. That is a critical point for us. In today's game, like explosive plays are critical as well. So you got to stop the run, but at the same time, you can't give up explosive plays. So it's a challenge because offenses keep getting better and better. They do some wonderful things, and there's a lot of great players out there. So it is a challenge, but up front, that's the mentality for us. Linebackers, that's a mentality for us. DBs, that's a mentality for us to stop the run and control the game in that manner.
So do you think on that front, having Griffin Willis and Landon back up front, gives you a foundation for stopping the run? Because it all starts up front in the trenches.
Yeah, I mean, defense. They say defense win games linemen win games and defense wins championships. So the common denominator is the defensive line. Like everything starts up there with the defensive line. And if you're porous up front, it makes life really, really challenging for the linebackers. It makes things really challenging for the defensive backs. So having those guys up front is definitely a plus and a major advantage for us. And there's more than just those two. That's the thing that I'm beginning to really like about this is I think we're going to have some really good depth. I think we're going to be able to play a good amount of guys, keep guys fresh, and my goal is that we play even harder than we did last year. We play at a higher effort level than we've even previously ever put on tape.
So Joe referenced the inside linebackers. Traditionally, those two positions have led the team in tackles. Last year was the case with Colin and Kyle were 1-2, and that is typical. Do you feel, can you talk about the pressure that's on these young guys like Job Grant and Mark Anthony Parker to fulfill that very important role of making the tackles? The way your defense is designed, those are the guys that need to make tackles.
Yeah, those guys make a lot of tackles for us. I've been really impressed with those two so far. I don't think any external pressure is put on those guys more than their competitive juice and the way that those guys both want to be great. Like both those guys take their jobs very, very seriously. Mark Anthony Parker is playing football at a really high level right now. Joe Grant is unlike any athlete that we've had at Mike linebacker since I've been here. And to be honest, behind those guys, Coleman Cawley and Marcus Blazard are playing really good football too. So I think we've got, 4 really good linebackers. And I think it was 2022. I'm not sure if Mike or Will led the team in tackles that year because we played a lot of guys. We had like a 4-man rotation and they all had a ton of production, that maybe it turns into that type of deal this year because, when guys deserve to be on the field, like I said, that will get them out on the field. So I think we got 4 really good inside linebackers right now.
I know we're getting low on time, so I don't want to dominate. I'll let the other guys get some questions in. I do have other questions if we have time left.
Sure.
One thing I think you should not forget is on the total defense numbers is also we played more on defense this past year because we scored a lot faster on offense than we have since 2019. So that all plays into it as well.
That's okay. That's okay.
I know
Keep
you won't
scoring.
say it. I can say it. Joe Miller.
Keep scoring.
Not to go completely on the numbers things, but it's crazy because you guys gave up the same amount of points in 2023 as you did in 2024, 22 point something. And you had the same amount of sacks in both years. And I think only 2 tackles for loss different. So it's kind of crazy how the numbers have lined up the last couple of years. They've almost been identical, which is crazy. But I was going to ask about Andrew Duhart. I know, we get the depth charts. I know that's what's written now, but seeing him at safety, what do you like there? And what do you see as future for, is it going to be at safety, or you feel like he's a guy that can play in multiple positions?
Yeah, I think he's going to be a safety for us. But I do think in a pinch he could go play corner. He's banked so many reps there. He knows the defense so well. I'd be remiss if I just say he's always going to be a safety moving forward. But if injuries or disaster struck or anything, he knows how to play corner. I think playing safety probably, and he would tell you the same thing, probably enhances his ability to play corner in a pinch if we need him to do that. But I think he's done a wonderful job there, and I think everybody in the room sees it. When we initially started playing him there a little bit in the spring, kids saw some flashes, saw him be able to do some of the things that we needed him to be able to do. Then he approached it in OTAs the right way, and through the beginning of camp has done it too. He took a huge jump from day 1 to day 2. He's a smart guy, sits in the front of the room at all the unit meetings, answers a ton of questions. I've been really impressed with Dew and the way he's working right now.
One other question from me, and it's from the corner perspective. Bryce, Justin, Ira, they all played at times last season, and I know a lot of people look at the inexperience there, but how important was it to get those guys on the field last year? And I get a sense that there's some big expectations for those guys going into the next couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, they all got action last year. They all had, were challenged on the field at times. All had production at times. I think it's wonderful that we were able to get in those situations, that we were able to get them on the field. I think really the whole group, Phil Hamilton included, a couple of there's some good freshmen there too. I think we're as deep as we probably ever have been at corner. I think there's a really competitive battle going on there right now to who's going to run out there with the ones. And we're just looking for the guys that are most consistent in terms of executing their job at a really high level and competing when the ball's in the air.
Thanks, Coach.
Pleasure.
We have about 10 minutes left. Tim, I'm going to go to Wags and let him ask his question. If we have any extra time, I'll go back to you. Go ahead, Wags.
Well, back on Duhart, why did you decide safety was the best position for him for the time being?
Yeah, I think, again, it's looking at the totality of the defense. It's looking at what we need. I think we have some very, very talented young corners. I think Dew understands and knows the defense pretty well. And our job is to try to get the best 4 defensive backs and the best 11 guys we possibly can out there. And we thought that fit for him would really help fit his skill set and who he is as a player. And I think we're right in terms of that.
I got to give, I think, Mike James more of the credit because he pointed this out in one of his posts. But so much of your ball hawking was in the secondary with Rayon Lane and Deshaun Peel. And that's a lot of interceptions, pass deflections. How do you replace that?
Yeah, that's one of the first things I talked about with the entire defense and the defensive backs in general is when those guys had opportunities to make plays, they caught the football. They intercepted the ball. It wasn't just a PBU. And they had a few PBUs and things like that. But when they got 2 hands on it, they caught it. And we're off the field. So that's been a major challenge to the defensive backs is we've got our finish skills have to be wonderful. And I'm not into really comparing guys to other guys and things like that, but I think it is a good point that Deshaun Peel and Ray Lane, those guys were offensive players in high school that are comfortable catching the football. So like our corners, our safeties, they're on the jugs. Coach Lewis, Coach Green working different ball drills with them daily, different things, putting them in different positions so they get more and more comfortable catching the football.
Who do you see as guys in that mold that can be disruptive forces and ball hawks back there?
Yep.
I know both you and Coach Newberry have talked a lot about the potential of Justin Ross.
Yeah, he's a really, really talented player for us. And obviously he had an interception last year, had a sack last year, all those types of things. I think he's a guy that can be a difference maker for us this year. I've been really impressed with him. I think Phil Hamilton's had great 5 days of camp. I mean, he's got a great look in his eye, the way he works, the way he's doing the things that we need to do. And then I've been really, really impressed with Giuseppe Sessi on the back end. I think he's taken as big a leap as maybe anybody on the football field in terms of just the way he's developed from last year to this year, the leadership role that he's taken. Obviously, Duhart's played well for us, played a lot. I know everybody gives him a hard time because he's dropped a couple interceptions, things like that. So we're on him about working on the hands and things like that. But you got Bryce, you got Ira, and there's some young guys nipping at the heels too. Coach Green's done an amazing job recruiting that corner room, but I do think we've got some guys that can really attack the football on the back end.
We talked with Jackson Campbell about the fact that there is no striker raider. Why have you decided to just call them outside linebackers? Because before you wanted to distinguish between the two spots because they were different, had different roles. The striker was definitely a different role than the raider. Why have you dropped those assignations?
Just to make everybody's job that's not in the building harder.
Okay.
There's no change in terms of the positions or anything like that. That's basically it. Just a little gamesmanship.
And is
Also, there's no more fullback either way because they are running backs.
Okay. And is the same with safety? There's no strong and free?
What's that?
Same with safety, no strong and free?
They're safeties.
They're safeties.
Okay. And then lastly for me, I mean, who looks like they could be wearing the green dot?
Yeah, we're going through that right now. So every day, like we talked about last year, that was a big deal for us is, put it on different guys, see who's comfortable with it, see who can make the calls, all those types of things. So we're switching that in and out of guys daily to try to find out who's comfortable. We played it with 3 different guys last year. So depending on the game, depending on the situation, what the game plan entails, it could change. So last year we had 3 different guys that wore it. All guys that started for us, but it's just, really, are we more front driven? Are we more back end driven? Is it a team that we need to make sure that the back end gets the call quicker? Is it a team we need to, make sure the front end gets the call quicker? So really what helps us, puts us at the advantage that we need. But, it's the same thing. Guys are like, I don't know if I like it. And then all of a sudden they get it and they're like, oh yeah, I like that. It's a good deal for us.
So to be clear, last year the 3 were Ray Lane, and B.D. Williams, and Colin Ramos.
We played it with Ray Lane. Now to start the game, 3 guys. As the game moved and things like that, sometimes we moved it. Ray Lane, Kyle Jacob, and Colin Ramos.
Okay, thanks.
Yep, no problem.
All right, that will wrap it up. Unless Tim, do you have a quick question? Or are we good?
Yeah, just one for you,
Go
Coach.
ahead. Go ahead.
Brian said a couple of times in pressers how this year there's going to be some games where you take the field and you're not the most talented team, but you have to find an edge. What is the edge of your defense this year?
Yeah, for us, everything starts with our effort, our attitude, toughness. Like our goal every time we go out there is to play harder than the team across from us. And that solves a ton of problems for us. We talk every day our tackling, our block destruction, our ball disruption, and our fixation to detail are what's going to lift us up to accomplish our goals. So our fundamentals have to be on point. Like if you're playing a team of superior talent, like we've got to be able to get aligned correctly. We've got to be able to communicate, make sure we're all on the same page. And then we've got to play really, really hard with great block destruction, tackling. And then when we do have opportunities to make plays on the football, we're able to make plays on the football. But I think everything always will come back to our eat. Like, are we a group that continues to go out there and plays extremely hard for each other? And on defense and in this football team, like our style of play, what we're trying to show people is that we're going to play smart, we're going to play fast, we're going to play violent, and we're going to play together.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, PJ. Thanks, everybody.